I never thought a normal school day could turn into the kind of nightmare you only see in movies or read about online. But that's exactly what happened. It was a Thursday, cold and gray, the kind of day that makes fluorescent lights flicker in an eerie, almost impatient rhythm. I had stayed after class to finish a project, the teacher distracted with meetings and paperwork. The building was mostly empty, save for a few janitors quietly pushing carts down the hallways, their movements echoing in the silent corridors. I liked that quiet. It gave me time to think, to work. I was in the library, the fluorescent lights above buzzing intermittently, casting shadows that seemed to twitch in corners. I remember looking up from my laptop and noticing the hallway outside the tall glass doors was empty. Too empty. I shrugged and went back to my work. Then I heard it, a faint thump like a footstep on the polished tile floor outside. I paused, listening. Probably the janitor. I muttered to myself, trying to ignore the uneasy feeling creeping up my spine. The thumps grew slightly louder, irregular, almost hesitant, like someone testing whether they were being watched. My laptop made a small beep, reminding me I had a message. I glanced down. No messages. I frowned. Then the thumping stopped. I tried to focus, but a sudden cold draft blew past me, making the papers on the table flutter violently. The doors to the library were still closed, yet the air felt like someone had just walked through. My skin prickled, and I suddenly felt very alone. I packed my bag, convinced I should just leave. But as I stood and walked toward the doors, I noticed the hallway beyond was darker than it had been before. The lights there flickered in a way that made my stomach twist. When I stepped out, the hallway was deserted. No janitor, no student, nothing. Just the low hum of the lights above. My footsteps echoed, and then I heard it, a whisper. Soft, so soft I thought I had imagined it. It sounded like my name, J. Jared. I froze. My heart raced. Who's there? I called, my voice cracking. Silence. But the air felt thicker, heavier, as if something had pressed itself against me from the shadows. I took another step. Another whisper, closer this time. Jared. It wasn't the friendly tone of someone trying to get my attention. It was slow, deliberate, and dripping with malice. I panicked, my rational mind screaming that this was impossible, that it was just my imagination. But the feeling of being watched intensified. I spun around. The hallway was empty. Then the lights went out. Total darkness. I stumbled, my hands scraping against lockers, my breath shallow and rapid. And then I heard the footsteps, not mine, following me. Slow, measured, each step punctuated by silence that screamed louder than any noise could. I ran. I didn't care where, just away from that sound. The whispers grew louder, more insistent. I reached the stairwell, the only escape I could think of. I bolted down one flight, 2 flights, 3, my chest burning. At the bottom, the exit doors were right there. Relief washed over me. I reached for the handle, and then I saw it. My own reflection. Only it wasn't me. The face staring back from the glass was pale, distorted, its eyes too wide, and its mouth stretched in a silent scream. I stumbled back, heart hammering. The whisper came again, this time directly behind me. I spun around. Nothing, but the air smelled wrong. Iron, decay. My stomach churned. I grabbed the door and flung it open, gasping for fresh air. Outside, the world looked normal, peaceful even. Cars, people walking, the sound of distant laughter. I blinked. Then I saw footprints. Wet, dark footprints leading from the library doors across the concrete. I froze. The library doors were still closed behind me. I wanted to run back, to check, but something in me screamed not to. Something was waiting, watching. I went home that night, locked every door, triple-checked the windows. But the whispers didn't stop. I could hear them in the darkness, low and deliberate, whispering my name over and over. I told myself it was stress, exhaustion, maybe even a prank. But deep down, I knew something followed me out of that building. Something that didn't belong in the world of sunlight and normalcy. Weeks passed. Classes continued. Life went on. But sometimes, when the school is quiet, when the halls are empty and the fluorescent lights hum just right, I can swear I hear my name again. A soft whisper, carried on the cold draft that shouldn't be there. And every time I do, I remember the face in the library glass. Too wide-eyed, too wrong, watching. I never stayed late in the library again. But sometimes when the night is still and the air smells like iron, I feel it again. Something just beyond the corner of my eye, waiting, patient, reminding me that the halls are never really empty. It was the kind of morning that made you think the day would be ordinary. Gray clouds hung low over the school grounds, and a damp chill clung to the air. I was in my last period, history, and like every Thursday, I stayed behind after the bell to finish a project. My classmates had all left, and the teacher had stepped out to take a phone call. The classroom was quiet except for the scratching of my pen on paper. I liked that quiet. It gave me room to think. Or at least I thought it did. I was halfway through my notes when I noticed the classroom door had swung shut. That wasn't unusual. The wind sometimes made it creak. But as I glanced up, something felt off. The lock on the door clicked into place, the kind of sound you'd expect when someone deliberately locked it. My stomach twisted. No one had been near the door. I got up and tried it. Locked. Must be jammed. I muttered to myself, trying to keep calm. I jiggled the handle, but it wouldn't budge. I started pacing, my pen forgotten on the desk. The room suddenly felt smaller, the walls pressing in. Then I heard it, a soft scraping sound, like nails on a chalkboard, only coming from somewhere behind me. I froze. The teacher had gone. The hallway was empty. And yet that sound. Slowly, I turned toward the corner of the room near the closet. Nothing, just a coat rack. The sound stopped, replaced by silence, so heavy it felt like it had weight. I laughed nervously, telling myself I was imagining things. I sat back down, but every shadow seemed wrong. The fluorescent lights above flickered, throwing half the room into darkness. I could feel something moving in that darkness, just out of sight, making the air feel alive. Then a whisper, not my name this time, but something else. A low, guttural murmur I couldn't understand. I tried the door again, still locked. My phone was in my bag on the desk, charging. I grabbed it, hands shaking, and tried to call anyone. The line was dead. No signal. I sat back down, chest tight, listening. Then the scratching started again. Louder this time. All around me. It moved like it was circling. I couldn't tell where. The air grew colder. My breath fogged in front of my face. I stood, heart racing, and shouted, "Hello? Is anyone there?" The response was a laugh. Soft, childlike, wrong. It came from the ceiling, then the walls, then directly behind me. I spun, but again, no one was there. The room felt different, longer, narrower. I couldn't explain it, but every instinct screamed to run. I backed toward the desk, looking for something, anything to defend myself with. My pen? My ruler? My laptop? The room seemed to stretch, the shadows deepening, crawling along the walls like black veins. And then I saw it, a figure, standing near the closet, just standing. I froze. It wasn't fully visible, more like a shape, a silhouette, dark against the dim light. No features, but I knew it was looking at me, watching me. My hands shook so violently I dropped my phone. It hit the floor with a dull thud, sliding under the desk. The figure moved closer. It didn't walk. It glided. The air around it shimmered, cold, heavy like water. My voice failed me. I couldn't scream. I couldn't breathe. It reached out, or at least it seemed like it did, and the lights went out. Total darkness. I stumbled backward, tripping over the chair. The room was alive with sound now. Scraping, whispering, breathing. I tried to scream, finally, but only a strangled noise came out. And then it spoke. Not a whisper this time, but a voice. Deep, hollow, dripping with malice. "Why are you here?" I stammered. I'm just finishing my project. My words sounded pathetic even to me. The voice laughed, a sound that seemed to echo inside my skull. "I see you." I ran. In the darkness, I felt walls stretch, desks shift, and the closet door I had been staring at seemed miles away. I slammed into the figure, or at least I thought I did, but my hands passed through something cold and wet. The laughter, the whispers, the scraping, all around me, all inside me. And then, as suddenly as it began, everything stopped. The lights flickered back on. The room looked normal. The door was unlocked. My phone was on the desk, screen cracked. I wanted to scream, to run, to tell someone, but it felt wrong. Something had followed me. I didn't go back to class for the rest of the week. I told my parents I was sick. But at night, when I try to sleep, I hear the whispering again. My name, a question, a voice asking why I was there. I wake up sweating, shaking, convinced something is standing at the foot of my bed. Something I let out of that classroom. Weeks later, I went back, just to check. The classroom was empty. No footprints. No signs of struggle. The janitor said the lock was broken weeks ago, yet I remember it clicking behind me. And I remember the shape, the voice, the cold. I never stayed behind alone again. But even now, sometimes when I hear the faint scraping of nails or a soft giggle in an empty hallway, I know it hasn't left me. It's still there, waiting, and I'm still asking myself why I was ever in that room. It started on a rainy Wednesday, the kind of day where the clouds hung so thick and low they looked like they were pressing down on the school roof. Everything felt heavier that morning. The air, the halls, even the chatter of students seemed muted. The weather had made everyone sluggish, but for me, it wasn't just the rain. I'd barely slept, kept awake all night by a scratching sound in the vent above my bed. I told myself it was rats or squirrels, but deep down I knew it wasn't. The scratching had rhythm, intention. Still, school felt like a safe escape, crowded, loud, familiar. Or at least it usually did. When last period rolled around, the rain had gotten worse, slamming against the windows so hard it sounded like handfuls of gravel being thrown at the glass. The storm knocked out the power twice, making everyone jump. Our teacher tried to act calm, but she kept checking the hallway like she was expecting someone. Or something. Just 10 minutes before the bell was supposed to ring, the intercom crackled so violently the entire class flinched. A blaring pop sounded, followed by static that buzzed like it was alive. Then a voice, flat, emotionless metallic, cut through. Lockdown. This is not a drill. The teacher's face fell. Without a word, she rushed to the door, locked it, turned off the lights, and motioned all of us toward the corner farthest from the windows. Everything happened fast, almost instinctively, like she'd been waiting for this exact announcement. My heart was hammering as 30 of us crammed together in the dark. At first, we all thought it was just another safety precaution. Maybe someone suspicious outside. Maybe a drill gone wrong. But something about the way the announcement sounded, the distortion, the unnatural flatness, made my stomach twist. It didn't sound like the principal. It didn't sound like anyone. The storm outside howled, wind screaming against the walls. The room felt too quiet despite the chaos outside. No one spoke. No one dared. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. Then 15. And then the intercom crackled again. More static, harsher this time, like claws dragging across a microphone. The same voice returned. Do not look in the hallway. Do not approach the door. It sees movement. A ripple of confusion and terror ran through the group. Our teacher silently shook her head, mouthing stay calm. But she was shaking. I could see her silhouette quivering in the dark. Someone near me whispered, "What does that mean?" No one answered. Another announcement followed moments later. It is on the second floor. Do not make noise. It hears breathing. We were on the second floor. A girl beside me started crying silently, her hands pressed against her mouth. My own breaths grew shallow, the air feeling thick, cold, wrong. It felt like something had seeped into the room with us, an invisible pressure crawling up the walls. Then the hallway outside our classroom creaked. Just once. A long, slow, dragging sound. Footsteps, but not normal ones. They were uneven, staggered, and far too heavy. Each step vibrated through the floor, traveling up our legs like shockwaves. The teacher stiffened. No one moved. The footsteps stopped outside our door. We could hear breathing, but not human breathing. This was wet, rattling like someone inhaling through a chest full of broken glass. The doorknob twitched. Once, then slowly, very slowly, it began to turn even though the door was locked. Someone stifled a scream. The turning stopped. The breathing stopped. The silence was absolute. Then came a thud. Not loud, but deliberate, like something large resting its head or hand against the door. The metal vibrated. My insides felt like they were freezing. The intercom crackled again, but this time the voice wasn't metallic. It wasn't flat. It was shaky, wet, like someone struggling to speak through blood. "Don't open." A heavy slam shook the door. The entire class flinched as the hinges groaned under the impact. Dust drifted from the ceiling. Another slam, then another, louder, more violent. Whatever was out there was trying to break in. The teacher crawled toward the door on her hands and knees, motioning for us to stay back. But she didn't get to the door. She froze halfway, head tilting like she heard something above her. All of us looked up. In the darkness, a faint scratching sound came from the ceiling tiles. The same rhythmic scratching that had kept me awake the night before. Slow, deliberate, moving, right above us. One tile shifted slightly, just a soft, almost accidental nudge. But then it pushed upward like something was pressing on it from the other side. Something large. The teacher backed away on instinct, hands trembling. She whispered, "Everyone stay still." But the tile moved again, harder this time. Another tile on the opposite side of the room pushed upward too. And another, like something was testing the ceiling, searching for the weakest spot. My entire body shook uncontrollably as I pressed myself against the wall. A loud shattering sound cut through the room. The window, not broken from the outside. No, the glass sucked inward like something was pulling it from the inside out. Wind rushed in, freezing and violent. The curtains whipped into the air. Papers and notebooks spiraled like flocks of frantic birds. Then, through the chaos, we heard it. A voice outside the window. Low, childlike, mocking. "Let me in." Every hair on my body stood on end. The voice didn't belong to anything human. It was too smooth, too playful, as if imitating a child rather than actually being one. Slowly, a hand appeared on the window frame. Pale, too pale. The fingers were long, unnaturally long, ending in dark, pointed nails. They tapped lightly on the broken glass, like someone knocking politely on a door. No one moved. No one breathed. The hand curled over the frame, and something began lifting itself into view. A head, bald, skin stretched tight over bone, hollow eyes that glowed faintly, reflecting the flicker of the emergency lights outside. Its neck bent at an impossible angle, like it didn't understand how human joints worked. Then it smiled. Its mouth split too wide, stretching from cheek to cheek, filled with small, needle-like teeth. One of the students screamed. The creature's head snapped toward the sound instantly, jerking like a puppet. The teacher threw herself in front of us, even though she was trembling so hard she could barely stand. "Don't move," she whispered hoarsely. But it was too late.